Good day, friends. Welcome to Homeschooling Channel, Standard 10th, History, Unit 7, Anti-Colonial Movements and the Birth of Nationalism, Part 3. This video talks about the peasant revolts in India. First, let's see the Indigo Revolt, 1859 to 60. Friends, India was one of the largest raw material suppliers for Britain. One such crop which was in great demand in the European market was indigo. Indigo plant was used for producing the blue color and India was the largest supplier of it in the 19th century world market. India is a tropical country and indigo grows well in tropical regions. In the 13th century, Indian indigo was used by cloth manufacturers from France, Italy, and Britain. The manufacturers used indigo color to dye cloths. Cloths needed dye, which led to high demand for indigo. West Indies and America were not able to meet the high demand of indigo. So, cloth dyers in Britain needed new sources of indigo. Therefore, the company decided to expand the area under indigo cultivation in India. The peasants were forced to grow the crop. The planters forced the peasant to grow indigo rather than food crops. The British planters gave the cultivator a cash advance to help pay for the rent of the land and other costs. This advance needed to be repaid with interest. Moreover, the small amount the peasant earned was not enough to pay back the cash advance with interest, so they fell into debt. Debts were often passed from father to son. So, the Indigo Revolt began in 1859. The revolt turned into violent. The peasants, both Hindu and Muslim, participated in the revolt, and women armed with pots and pans fought alongside the men. The Indian journalist in Calcutta wrote articles about the brutality of the planters. The play Nil Darban, that is the Mirror of Indigo by Dinabandhu Mitra, did much to draw the attention in India and Europe. The Deccan Riots, 1875. Due to the heavy taxation and famine, the deaths were increased. The first recorded incident of rioting against moneylenders in the Deccan was in May 1875 in Supa, a village near Pune. Similar cases of riots were reported from close to 30 villages in Pune and Ahmednagar. The peasants were forced to pay the taxes directly to the government. Also, under a new law, moneylenders were allowed to attach the mortgaged land of the defaulters and auction it off. This resulted in a transfer of lands from the cultivators to the non-cultivating classes. The second half of the 19th century saw the emergence of national political consciousness among a new social class of English educated Indians. Though they were numerically small, they were working as lawyers, journalists, government employees, teachers, or doctors. So, they took the initiative to float political outfits such as Madras Native Association, East India Association, Madras Mahajana Sabha, Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, the Bombay Presidency Association, and many others. The economic critique of colonialism. Critique means analysis or review. So one of the most significant contribution of early Indian nationalist was the formulation of an economic critique of colonialism. Dadabhai Nauroji, Justice Ranade, and Ramesh Chandra Dutt played a significant role in making this. They concluded that colonialism was the main obstacle to the Indians' economic development. The formation of Indian National Congress in the year 1885 was the culmination of attempts by groups of educated Indians politically active in three presidencies: Bombay, Madras, and Calcutta. Mr. A. O. Hume lent his services to facilitate the formation of the Congress. Mr. Umesh Chandra Banerjee was the first president in Indian National Congress in the year 1885. The first session was held on 28th December 1885. The main objective was to develop the national unity but also professed loyalty to Britain. Appeals, petitions, and delegations to Britain, these are all the techniques followed by them. Let's see the key demands. Creation of Legislative Council. Increasing the number of elected members in the Legislative Council. Separating judicial and executive functions. Reducing military expenditure. Reduction of home charges. Extension of trial by jury. Holding civil service exams in India as well as in England. Police reforms. Reconsideration of forest laws. Promotion of Indian industries and an end to unfair tariffs and excise duties. The militant nationalism. The methods of moderate leaders failed to yield any change in the British attitude towards the moderate demands of early Indian nationalists. They were criticized by the group of leaders known as extremists. Instead of prayers and petitions, these militants were more focused on self-help. Partition of Bengal. The idea of partition was devised to suppress the political activities against the British rule in Bengal by creating a Hindu-Muslim divide. Partition of Bengal in 1905 was the most unpopular of all. Friends, do you know it was openly stated that the objective of partition was to curtail Bengali influence and weaken the nationalist movements. By placing Bengal under two administrative units, Curzon reduced the Bengali speaking people to a linguistic minority in a divided Bengal. But instead of dividing the Bengali people along the religious line, partition united them. Anti-partition movement. With the failure to annul the partition, moderate leaders were forced to rethink their strategy and look for new techniques of protest. The boycott of British goods was one of such methods. The militant nationalists, on the other hand, were in favor of extending the movement beyond Bengal and to initiate a full-scale mass struggle. The day Bengal was officially partitioned, 16th October 1905, was declared as a day of mourning. Thousands of people took bath in Ganga and marched on the streets of Calcutta singing Vande Mataram. Boycott and Sudesi movement in Bengal 1905 to 1911. Boycott and Sudesi were always interlinked to each other and part of wider plan to make India self-sufficient. Four major trends can be discerned during the Sudesi movement in Bengal. They are the moderate trend, constructive Sudesi, militant nationalism, revolutionary terrorism. First, let's see constructive Sudesi. The constructive programs largely stressed upon self help. It focused on building alternative institutions of self governance that would operate free of British control. Sudesi shops sprang all over places selling textiles, handlooms, soaps, matches, leather goods, etc. Then passive resistance. From 1906, the Sudesi movement took a turn. Under this new direction, the Sudesi program included 4 points. They are boycott of foreign goods, boycott of government schools and colleges, courts, titles and government services, development of Sudesi industries, national schools, resource to armed struggle if British repression went beyond the limits of endurance. The militant nationalism. Lala Lajpati Rai of Punjab, Balagangadhar Tilak of Maharashtra, and Bipin Chandra Pal of Bengal were three prominent leaders during the Sudesi period and were referred to as Lal Bal Pal. In South India, Thoothukudi became the most important location of Sudesi activity with the launch of Sudesi Steam Navigation Company by Mr. V.O. Chidambaranar. Swaraj or political independence. One of the common goals of the extremist leaders was to achieve Swaraj or self rule. However, the leaders differed on the meaning of Swaraj. For Tilak, Swaraj was the attainment of complete autonomy and the total freedom from foreign rule. Friends, let's see the rest of the lesson in the next video. And this is the question corner. Who had launched the Sudesi Steam Navigation Company? Post your answers in the comment section. Thank you.